You're now listening to the Zod and Drea podcast.
All right, what's up, people?
What's going on?
Yeah, we are back again for another podcast. What do you got to say about that, Dre?
Another one.
Yeah, we got another one.
Another one.
These weeks just keep on going by faster and faster, don't they?
I know. Does that a sign of we're getting old?
Nah. It just means we're just getting better at what we do. It's so crazy. A week goes by, we got all these conversations that we have, and we just want to bring them to the people, and I'm glad that we have a format that we can do that too.
Yeah, we've got some good topics to talk about today.
Yeah. So,
you thought of a really good one.
Yes, this one's going to be a lot of fun, and, we want to get your input on it, of course, people. Anybody listening, we want to know what you have to think about some of this stuff. But, this topic is going to be a doozy. But first, let's explain some of the things on the website.
Oh, gosh. We have, okay, you created all these new ways for engagement, really, to be involved in our world. So a few things are now, if you notice, and please go to our website so you can see all these new tools. And all it is one of them is about submitting your own request. Say you want to be a guest on the show, you can submit it this way. On our website. If you want us to talk about a certain topic, you can submit it on the website. If you want to even do your own movie review, you can submit it there. So this way you are just involved. Like we always talk about, the show is surrounded so much about your input, your requests. This way it is directly towards us. Anything else?
Yeah, so we want to also note that if you're a writer or, a journalist out there who just wants to, get your stuff out there and, you just need a format, you can use the Zod and Drea podcast website, which is zodanddrea.com, to use it. And of course, once it posts, it goes out to our Twitter and, our Facebook and our Google Plus and, some other
YouTube.
Formats. Yeah, it does. So if you want, just make sure you visit the site, go into the Contact Us area, and you will see where you will be able to submit. We're going to have a registration there also so that, journalists have their own footnote also at the bottom of their posts. And, we're going to want some things contracted, of course. So, it's going to be business as usual, but, we're going to get into it. But, we're running out of time here, but our topic for today will be how does the role of God or religion influence your life? But that's going to be coming up later because right now, let's talk about the movie that we saw, which was really good. And it's getting a lot of critical acclaim out there, which is Jordan Peele of Key and Peele, the comedy duo, if you've ever seen it. But Jordan Peele in his first writing and directing debut of Get Out.
Get Out.
Get Out. I mean, number one props to him because he is the first black writer and director for their first outing to break $100 million.
Wow.
Spike Lee hadn't done, think about all the people for their debut.
And John Singleton?
Yeah, I know, you'd think so.
Yeah.
Debut writing and directing, no. So, shout out to him for that, for coming from number one, a $4.5 million budget, engrossing over $111 million last time I checked. So he's really doing it. But the movie itself is just a really well-written thriller horror comedy. I mean, he makes sure that the comedy's in there because that's what he does. But the thriller and the horror part of it comes out of a social, I guess, not even economic necessarily, even though it plays. But there's a social commentary that's played into the movie regarding race relations. And that's what makes this so different. It's something that really only the views of a black man will be able to convey in writing, which is, what Samuel L. Jackson said, which was interesting, was why would they cast a British man to be, the key player, which is, it's a legitimate argument, because the role of racism worldwide is one thing we share, but the world of American racism is something that's unique in itself. So it is kind of interesting to see, the character that was played is by a British man, and, he put on his American accent. But it's interesting what it would have been like if a black man had gotten this role from America.
What do you think it would have? What do you think it would have changed?
The acting, I think the acting would have been slightly different because it's one of those things where it's like I feel this because I've been through it. Watching Get Out was one of those things where so many areas of it was, oh my God, I've seen that. Oh God, I can relate. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I knew a guy like that. Man, maybe they were in the sunken place. You know, it's where. You have the just like some of the white people in America have these microaggressions that they say things. And I love the way they brought him up in the movie, such as, oh man, my father would have voted Obama for a third term. It's like, okay,
bad.
you know, it's one of those things like, okay, why would why are you trying to prove you're not racist by saying your dad would have voted Obama? Why? Because he is a black man and that's why, and not because his policies were just a lot better then. You know, it's those little microaggressions, those little things like, look, I'm down, you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
what was it? How the dad greeted him at the front door
of
the house?
Oh God! And how many times he's like, what was it? Hey man, or
my brother man,
or something stupid. It's like, you know what? You stay in your lane. But then the horror came when it was being revealed what they were, you know, what was being up to, what was going on. Why were the groundskeepers, you know, black? Like there were only two of them, a maid and you know, a groundskeeper, you know, the only two real key black people besides the other guy. And, I mean, there's just certain things you're going to get out of this. I mean, you're going to start taping down your phone cord into your phone. You're going to start avoiding teacups.
I know I am. The minute I see it.
But it was a really good movie. I mean, it was like to where the audience was clapping and cheering. And I mean, from what I saw, it seemed like although a mixed crowd, it was very, you know, a lot of white people going out there. So I don't know if they picked up what the story was saying and what we say about them. The thing is, a lot of it was conversation the movie was a lot of conversation we say about white people because we have a shared experience. It's like, oh my God, they do the same thing. They can get away with talking to a cop a certain way where we have to comply. Otherwise, we might get our heads beaten in, even though we know what they're doing is wrong. You know, they really touched on a lot of things. And then just the horror part of it, I'm telling you, it was a good movie.
So being so much controversy about the movie, what is it that you feel that you would want the white audience to walk away with?
No, just walk away with what your role in white privilege is and how it affects you in America. If anything, don't just recognize what it is, but find out how you can use it to help others, which will then thus destroy the white privilege. You know, how do you use it? If you have to talk to a cop that way each time, then do it. You know, we can't get away with that because we'll get our heads beaten in. So it's like, I think it's one of those things where, you know, check the movie out and, you know, judge for yourself, you know? So I did all the talking on that last one, but this one's going to be fun. This one's going to be fun for Drea. She's got
It'll bring up some memories.
This one's going to be crazy. So, and she's got a couple coming up. Shoot.
At least a couple coming up, right? At least
a couple. It's going to be nuts. But let's talk about bridal showers real quick. I mean, bridal showers, like I obviously have never really been in one. There was one that was at our house, Kristen and our house like last year or something. Yeah, there were a whole bunch of women there. I just kind of avoided it, went in the back and played with the cats and went on the computer. You know, I was like, whatever. This is not my scene. But, I mean, explain to us what, you know, bridal showers, either adventures or what's upcoming.
The purpose of a bridal shower really is to dedicate time and a special time for the bride-to-be. And it can consist of a few hours. It can consist of a full day. It can consist of a weekend, depending on how outrageous and how lavish the wedding can be. And I grew up with the tradition of bridal showers are only attended by women. As times have changed, now there's bridal showers, or now they have changed to where if you want to, you can include the groom in there, and then the title will change. It's more than could be called wedding shower.
So it's more inclusive?
Yes, exactly, where it's him and his friends and then the bride's friends. But again, it depends on what people prefer, right? But again, I grew up with the other way of just, it would be strictly women. And I get it. It was because it was a time for women to be together. It was a time for women to let their hair down. And even a lot of the showers that I went to as a kid, because I grew up in a Mexican family, and there seemed to be a bridal shower or baby shower every week. that it was either, and even children sometimes, depending on a certain age, wouldn't even allow to come to a bridal shower. Because, again, it was really a way for women to be together, to just really let their hair down and not have to worry about the kid or not have to worry about the baby, But, again, times have changed and I've gone to a lot of showers. And in my experience where, there's children there, infants, everybody from every age. Now it ranges to where, because I've hosted bridal showers myself, I try to make it to where there's a little fun involved. There's engagement because you can have groups that don't know each other. You can have the what do you call it? The groom's family and their friends, and it can get kind of weird socially. So there's games that are put into place so that this way everyone's forced to talk to each other. I've gone to some bridal showers where there've been strippers, and then I've been to some bridal showers where there's been drag queens. I've been to some bridal showers where it was actually a mass that was done and involved in there. You name it.
So what is the purpose? Like, is it a celebration of the bride-to-be?
Yes, it's the celebration of the bride-to-be. And a lot of it, too, is for the women to get together that are supporting her. Yeah, it is. It is to support her, to support, show her some love, spoil her, shower her with gifts. So it's kind of 50-50. One, it is for the bride, and the other hand is for the women that are supporting her.
All right, so what happens when they wind up being on the same day? You wind up with two on the same day.
You just gotta
does that sound familiar?
The struggle is real. It's communicating to both of them about, look, this
during the same time.
During the same time, like, look, I can only do one, and I'll send a gift for the other one.
I swear, you might have to be getting that car in the turbo boost,
right? Or it's dedicating the beginning of one shower to one, and then another shower to another.
And that's it.
It's all you can do, But it doesn't mean that I don't support either one's marriage. It's just, time is time, and that's just how it is.
And so the people that wind up being there are the women. I mean, we've seen crazy movies like Bridesmaids, and, can it ever get that serious?
Yes.
Or, so then what is the purpose for real? Is it for women to celebrate the bride, or is it really for women to just finally get that one last hurrah?
It can be. It's a combination of both. It
or
really isn't either or.
Or is that bachelorette night?
Oh, bachelorette night can be a hot mess, or it can be totally boring, depending.
We're going to church.
We're gonna do finger painting.
Boring.
So it's both. It's a party for the bride and a party for all the other women that are there together. So either way, it can be fun if you just don't take it seriously.
Once again, make sure you listen to the Zod and Drea podcast by subscribing to one of the following podcast methods: iTunes, Google Play, or YouTube. Visit our website at www.zodanddrea.com to go directly to the links, or if you choose, you can listen to each podcast episode directly on the website under their individual posts.
Want to get involved and have your voice heard on the next podcast? Then be sure to tune in to the question of the week on our website, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram page. And dial in and leave a message on our voicemail at 323-963-4221.
If you're an advertiser who would like to have your 30-second or 1-minute placement on our podcast or YouTube episode, please contact us at info@zodanddrea.com and we'll send you a price list. Space is limited for each episode.
The next podcast might even have you as a featured guest.
Tune in, check us out, and get involved.
And we're back.
We're back, people. We got to talk about this next topic, which is a nice little serious thing, but, we can go off the rails because it can get political, it can get personal, it can get spiritual, but it all winds up in the same place. And we want to ask you, all right, how does the role of God or religion influence your life? So, I mean, it's a specific thing, we're talking about you personally, so we'll be talking about ourselves personally. But we can also talk about how other people perceive it, or how other people are hypocrites. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about this for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? I mean, how does the role of God or religion influence your life?
God actually influences my life in the way that, where it's something that is it's always there present. And for me to know that there's something bigger that has a hand in everything is just so much more peaceful for me. It's like knowing that this just isn't it, that there's something else that's going on. There's something else that's bigger than all of us, than bigger than this nonsense. It just adds so much more relief to my life. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, the role of God, I'd say, in my life, because I do believe in God.
I believe in God, too.
I believe in a God, I should say. It's not some guy in a cloud or anything to me. It's not Prometheus, It's not your movie, Prometheus.
I love that movie.
It's not this all-knowing, all-powerful. Like, this is something to me. It's more personal to what a God is. And I consider it a God because it's bigger than me. But I even believe that Mother Nature is a God, to if I had to personify it. But we're talking about snowstorms, winter, the changing seasons, things like that, things that are automatic that bring life to the planet without having to try. The only thing that can destroy it is man, but even still, if the destruction of man comes about, Mother Nature will still take over and replenish the earth. So to me, it's God. I see God in that way, where it's bigger than me. I am just this small, tiny speck in the universe that is almost really non-existent. I don't exist, so why should my life be that important except to those who are relatively my size? That's why I am important to people, but to Mars, I'm not. To Pluto, I'm not. To Xanax X, out there, I am not. I am irrelevant. And for me to believe that there is something out there that's like, I created all this, and look at this vast universe, this and that, but I'm just going to focus on this one tiny planet in this one tiny galaxy, in this one tiny universe, or in this one tiny universe, in one tiny galaxy, and, in this Milky Way, and in this planet, and, for me to even do that is, to me, irresponsible. And I know religion and Bibles and, they do that, but I think that they see things in the perspective of man.
Right. It's interpreted that man is above everything else.
Not even. It's more that man wrote the book, so man can only see what man sees. If man tries to, one of the things as a songwriter, it's funny, I still have never done this. It's the most difficult song I ever tried to write, and I tried to write it once, but I failed. This is when I was living in Brooklyn, okay? So we're talking like probably 2002 or something like this is how long. And I tried to tackle this topic many times and it failed. But was, if I were God, what would I see and how would I describe things from a human perspective, like as not a human, as a godly perspective towards humans. And it's something that's impossible for me to do. My brain can't become that vast. I can only see it through the eyes of what a man would see and interpret things and pretend.
It's interesting you bring that up because in scriptures and writing, it is quoted that, and it is stated that we were made to be God-like.
See? And it's funny you say that. Because I believe that I think that we all have God in us.
Yes, we do. Yeah. I believe that too.
And the reason I believe that is because of babies. Believe it or not. That's why. That's my source of that. Is because when you see babies, they stare at things because they don't have the language to be influenced. So when you look at a baby laugh or talk or look or stare or whatever, they're seeing things almost through godly-like eyes. They're seeing things, not just new eyes, but they see things at a whole different perspective than we do because they haven't learned to be apathetic yet. They haven't learned to distrust yet in that sense. So they're going to see things in a way more pure manner. They just wiggle and whatever, and you laugh at them, but then all of a sudden they look off to the side. There was no noise. There was no. They see something. It's like I believe that animals can do the same thing. That they can. They haven't learned to not see something. Whereas we, as an adult, we are taught. No, there's nothing there. No, that's your imaginary friend doesn't exist.
Right,
no.
Right.
So I think babies are they're also proof of a godly existence and why that's in us, and it's up to us whether or not we keep that in us. Some people feel that keeping that inside of them is going to church every week and this and practicing the scripture and looking at fucking Joel Osteen videos and now I'm going to heaven. And no, that's not the way you do it. That's not the way you do it. And even to me, heaven is a social construct. It's something that's created to control a population. And I think in any religion it's like that. I don't care if it's Buddhism or I guess they think of reincarnation or something, but it's like, no, this is what happens when you die. Nobody freaking knows what happens when you die.
Right, because they're dead. They can't talk about it.
They can't talk about it. So it's like, we see how we think about it, but how about some of the things in politics, the role of religion, and they influence their lives. Some people will say abortion.
Right.
Oh, you know what? This is how the role of God influence. I'll never get an abortion or no. Not because of financial constraints, the baby was a product of a rape, or not because of that, but because God says murder is bad. But then there'll be the same people who believe in the death penalty. So what role of religion do they play when somebody else kills and they are rooting for the death of that person?
Well, then, like you said, it's that contradiction. And then also taking pieces of a religious base that you want for yourself, to modify for yourself, right? And to use for some power influence. Also look at prayer in school. And saying, well, God wants everybody to pray this certain prayer in school. But not every student is a Christian. Not every, why?
Right.
Why is that one religion? And we've seen in many cases that it's this even overpowering of saying, one religion should be dominated for a community, should be the dominant one in a state.
It's true. It's like, what if a kid has a prayer rug? He's got to go over there and pray because it's noon. He should be allowed to do that.
Right. And who are we to say, who's anybody to say, especially Department of Education and DeVos that's leading it, please, that child's religion that he was raised on for centuries, his family has practiced for, centuries, is now all of a sudden not the right one to have?
It gets crazy because then you see some of these people out here who are supporters of pretty much evil. It's like it's separation. It's dividing people. It's they put it over. Country first. Put up a wall. Send these people back to these countries. In the name of God, and they can't do that. You can't cherry pick the Bible. Look at your life and be like, I believe in this God, so then that means I'm better. Like even with that bullshit travel ban, it was originally Trump said.
It's a Muslim ban.
Yeah, that number one, it was a Muslim ban, and then number two, I will give preferential treatment. He'll give special treatment to Christians who are coming in.
Yeah.
So that solidified the Muslim ban. But you're going to try to say you're a Christian. So how are you putting that country over, which is a country that doesn't have a religion? There is no main religion in the United States. So Christianity is just as equal as Judaism, as Buddhism, as Taoism, as Islam. In this country. So how do you sit there and try to call yourself a Christian when you don't act like it? Jesus? If Jesus came down and saw the way that Americans treated other human beings, turning the poor and the desolate and the desperate away back into their war-torn countries because they think, you've got to be a terrorist. When we have more terrorism inside of this country due to police brutality, due to white supremacy, a history of it, but they don't consider that because they consider themselves on a basis of looking alike. It's to them it's Christian, so it's not. Which again, Christianity,
right? And if you studied your Bible, all the Christians that claim to again act this certain way and refuse to help any refugees. Jesus was a refugee. He was as a child. They had to go to another state to be, and then his mom was turned away so many times. And he's from the Middle East. He never, when he was older, it is written in so many of the scriptures that he accepted everybody. He accepted everybody. I really think that if he was walking around right now, a lot of these really evangelist Christians wouldn't even look at him. They would want to banish him because he'd be some kind of like long-haired, dark-skinned hippie, telling everybody to get rid of all of their possessions, help those that are poor, help the prostitutes, help the sick, the dying, and the refugees.
Which makes you want to understand someone like Joel Osteen. It's like somebody who has a ginormous estate off of religion. Yeah, sure, sure he sold books and this and that. It's cool. You've done that, and you've gotten rich off, but you've gotten rich off of others based on religion. So what does the role of God or religion, play or influence him or somebody like him to his mega churches? Why do you have a mega church? Jesus wasn't a person who, he just had 12 dudes that he hung out with, and these are my cool dudes, and he didn't have millions and be like, okay, based on this, I'm gonna get this much money. It's gonna be tax free. I get to buy. How are you exploiting the poor at the expense of the poor in order to benefit yourself? It's sickening. So what does his role, who is God to him? God to somebody like that is money. Mm-hmm. And the God to most American people who are really based in capitalism is money. That's their God, and their role plays into survival and to make sure that they are above others.
Right. So you just said it. That's the switch up. Not saying that for those that truly are looking for God and that inner peace, that can be found. And this is not taking away from that. But when you replace God with the dollar signs, that is what you're saying is what's the corruption.
I mean, God they trust, in God they trust. So it's what is the role? For me, it's something way more personal, but I'm not religious. I don't have a religion. My parents and my mom would probably hate for me to say this on, air, but I don't have a religion. I don't. I was raised Baptist, and that's cool. And I believe that anybody who does anything out of religion for the good is a good thing. Mm-hmm. If you're helping the poor, you're feeding the poor, if you're clothing the poor, as Jesus, is written to be doing.
Right.
And, I don't know enough about the other prophets like, Solomon, Moses, Muhammad, some of these other prophets, but, they were generally good people, generally. People are like, oh, Muhammad was, a rapist, blah, blah, blah. Look, I don't know anything about the Quran, but I do know that everyone back then was pretty much marrying at 13. So, I don't know who was a baby killer or what. I don't know who
I don't know about that. Yeah.
But everybody back then was marrying 13 and 12-year-olds. So,
and same thing in the Christian Bible, too.
No. When I say everybody, I'm not just talking about Islam. I'm talking about Christianity. And then apparently in the Bible, they had 150 kids. And, so get off the high horse. Get off the high horse. If your religion is causing you to divide people, is causing you to do things other than what it says that you should be doing, at least in the name of good, because in all religions, God is merciless and kills and instructs people to kill firstborns, kill people who are gay, kill all kinds of crazy stuff. So, it's a sin if you eat lobster and all this, and, death to a whole, if you have sex with a woman while she's bleeding, die. So there are a lot of things that people are hypocritical about when it comes to religion, and they need to check themselves. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how God will influence them, but I know that it's wrong in probably 99% of the people. Because we're human beings. Exactly.
And as that too, you're going to make mistakes too. So don't necessarily use religion as your crutch. Instead of fessing up I don't want to be judged, when it's time for me to go. So I'll go ahead and make men's meat. No, just say you're sorry and you did something wrong, okay?
Yeah, admit it. And, please don't blame... I can go on forever.
We can.
It's and don't credit God for you winning an award either. So shut the fuck up. Anyway, you know what? Don't you hate that? You're like, this award, whatever.
God wants everyone to do well.
I want to thank God.
We're all supposed to succeed.
What about the people that lost?
Are they
going to thank God too? Shut up.
We're all supposed to do well.
Anyway, you know what? Make sure you check us out on Zod Andrea, at Zod Andrea on everything. Zod Andrea. Make sure you contact us also at zodandrea.com to be sure that if you want to submit an article, become a writer with us, become a reviewer. We'd love to see your work and, have you come into the fold.
Right. Help promote what you do.
Yeah. And it is a promotion for yourself also. Mm-hmm. So, we're going to wind up rolling it out a lot more later on. But for now, you can see what's there. But, we got business to do and places to go. And, thanks for listening because this podcast is out of here.
Bye.